Hi, this is Todd Olthoff from ToddOlthoff.com coming back at you with another screencast. In this week, we're going to take a look at your network setup to make sure that you've got your network configured the way you need it to operate server. Now, one of the most important things to do is to make sure that your incoming and outgoing connections are working properly. Obviously, if you're going to use a server, you want to make sure that you have access both inside and outside your network. Now you'll notice here, just on my server page right here, right on the server tab, you'll notice that I'm connected by Ethernet here, and I've got a local IP address. Now, one of the things you want to do is make sure that your server is connected by Ethernet. So you want the Ethernet cable going into your router. That's important because if you use Wi-Fi to connect to your server, Wi-Fi is unreliable, so your server is going to cut in and out, which is going to cause problems for your services. So you do want to make sure that you're connected by Ethernet. But as you can see here, I've got that set up. Now, if I come up here, you'll notice that on the sidebar here, I've got this office set up here, and that's because I've got an Apple Airport Extreme base station connected to my server here. Now, one of the things I would highly recommend if you don't have a router yet is to get an Airport Extreme base station, mainly because the server software interfaces with it and controls it so that when you're doing things like opening ports and stuff like that, it's very easy. You don't have to reset your router. It just takes care of it for you. If you do have your own router, that's fine too. You can use that. But let me just show you here. Show you the Airport Extreme. And so here's Apple's website, and this is the Airport Extreme here, and you can see it's a little bit taller than they have used to do. They used to do the flatter version. But again, this is a great router. It's really fast. It's got the AC Wi-Fi built in, which is nice. And like I said, it just works really well with your server itself. You can see here's the ports on the back of it. You've got 3 Ethernet ports in addition to the gigabit WAN port, which would go into your cable modem or whatever you're using for your internet. And then it's also got a USB port on it. But I just wanted to show you that because, like I said, if you don't have one yet, this is a good way to go. Let me just go ahead and put this down here. Now, one of the things we're going to do is I want to show you how to set a static IP address for your router. You notice here I've got this address, and that's because I've set this up as a static address so that you want the same address for your server at all times, so that if your router reboots or your server reboots, you don't get a new address because DHCP does assign new addresses that way. So let me show you how this works. I'm just going to pull up the airport utility here for my router. And as you can see here, this is a diagram of my network. You see here I've got my Airport Extreme base station. This is plugged into my server. You'll notice here the solid line. This is the internet. This is where my where my modem would be connected to my base station. You see the solid line here represents an Ethernet connection. The dotted line represents a wireless connection, and so I've got another router in another room that I've got set up with ports and all that kind of jazz because I've got a lot of things by my TV that need Ethernet connections, and so that's how I've set that up. So again, this is Ethernet and this is wireless here, and this is just extending my network. Now, really important to take a look at this. So let me just show you something about how to set up these reservations for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. You just click on the router itself. You're going to click on Edit, and you get this nice drop down that shows the airport utility. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the network here for a minute. And let me just walk you through this. The first thing you've got here is you've got your router mode set up. And I want to walk through this for a minute to show you the different settings on it so that you understand what's going on here. So if I just click on this, you notice that I've got off, which is bridge mode. And so that would mean that no addresses are being handed out. It's really not doing anything as a router. It's just sort of passing on the connection, probably just using the wireless for that. And so it's in bridge mode, so there's no routing going on. You can see here I've got DHCP only, and so that's not doing any port forwarding. It's just basically doing addressing for my devices. And then I've got DHCP and NAT, and so that is doing both. Now, DHCP, just so you know, stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. And what that does is the DHCP gives out the addresses to all of the devices on your network, so that when some device comes on your network, it needs to be assigned an address so it can have access to the services on that network, such as access to the internet or sharing printers or whatever you've got on there. Now, DHCP reuses addresses, and so every time a device comes on the network, it's going to just kind of assign it an address to give it an address to get it connected. When it goes off the network or you restart it, it'll just pick up another address that's available, and so it can just keep using from a pool of addresses that are available. And so that's why we want to assign that. Now, NAT is the network address translation. And so what that does is that translates ports for different services. And so it opens up holes to allow services in and out. If you look here on our setup here, you can see here is DHCP, right, for the DHCP reservations. And here is NAT, and this is the port settings for NAT right here. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, you'll notice here on the DHCP range, you see I've got a 10.0.1.2 all the way up to 0.200. Now, that's the range of addresses that my router will choose from. All right, and so that's what it's going to choose from to assign IP addresses and such. So what we're going to do is take one of those and assign it to the server. And you can see here I've already done that here. You see I've got the server assigned to this particular address, 1.3. You can pick whatever you want to make that assignment happen. But let me show you how you add an address. So I'm just going to hit the plus button here. And so what you're going to do is in this area here, you'll put in your description. So for instance, if I was doing my server, that's where I'd put server, or whatever you want to put in there as your description. Then you can reserve the address in two ways. You can do it by MAC address or by DHCP client ID. And so basically what that does is that allows your router to find the device by one of these addresses, and then once it knows that device is on its network, then it assigns it the particular IP address that we're going to give it. So we're going to use the MAC address. Now, in order to find that, let me just pull up System Preferences here. You go into System Preferences, you'll go into Network, go into Network here, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go into Advanced, and then you'll come over to Hardware, and your MAC address is sitting right here. And so what you can do is just select that, and then you can Command-C to copy it. Okay, so now I've copied that address. I'm just going to cancel right now, and let's go back here. I'm going to put this down, and then you would paste the MAC address right in here. Okay, so you copy it and you paste it in there, and then you go and assign your address. And so in this case, I could assign it to 3, because that's what I did instead of 2. You can use 2 as well. I wouldn't use 1 there because 1 is assigned to the router itself. All right, so you can't use 10.0.1.1 if you're on a Mac here, because that's the actual address for the router, because the router has to get its own address as well. And once you do that and you have everything in there, then you would click Save. Now let me just cancel because I've already done that. And let me just say Edit on this one. And so you can see here I've got it all set up, right? MAC address, I've got my IP address, everything's set. I'm just going to cancel that and pop that back up there. Now you can do reservations for all kinds of different devices if you want to. You can see here I've set up stuff for the printer, for my different iPhones and such. And so you can actually put reservations for your devices. It just makes it a little easier to track them on the main screen. But that's an option for you if you want to set that up as well. All right, so that's how you would add a reservation, and that's going to guarantee that I'm going to get the same one every time. So let me do this. Let me just put this down here. Now, once we've set that up, what you want to do is you'll check and see that it's set right here. As we can see, it is for us. But there's a couple of other things we want to do. You want to come into System Preferences again, and you want to go back into your network here. And what we want to do is we want to set the DNS server in here, so that basically our machine is looking to itself for DNS and then goes to the internet. So what we'd have is we'd have basically our IP address here, and just so you know, this 127.0.0.1 just basically means look to yourself for DNS first, and then if you don't find what you're looking for, then go to the internet, and this is an external DNS address. This is basically OpenDNS, and then you can also look to the router. It's got that on there as well. So basically what would happen is it would look to itself for local network addressing. If it's something that's on the internet, then it's going to go outside to look for its addressing to another DNS server on the net, and that's where that is. Now to change this, we're just going to say advanced here. You want to go into DNS, and you can change the servers here. Okay, so we've got all these different services here, and what I'm going to do is actually, I'm just going to change this to my actual server address, so that I've got that there. And then I'm going to get rid of this router one because I don't need that. So I've got these 2 servers, and that's all I need. So I'm going to say OK. And now it's going to make that change, and you see I've got the change right here made. And so that's what I want to do for my DNS server. Now you'll want to do this on your other devices that you're going to attach to your server as well, because it will help with binding. But that's how you set that up. And then when I'm done, I just say apply, and then it's going to apply that stuff. And so we're all set and ready to go. Okay, so let me go back in here and put this down. Now there's one more place that we want to make this change, and that is back on the airport utility itself. So we're going to go back into the airport utility. And what we're going to do is we're going to do it on the internet area here of the router. And we're going to put in our DNS servers here. Okay, so I'm going to put in my 10.0.1.3, and then you'd go in and put in another address here and then say update to make sure that that's all set. So that way your router is also going to look to the local network for addressing first, then it'll go to the internet for anything that's on the outside. And you set all that up, and then you're ready to go. Let me just pop this down. So that gives you an idea of how to do your network configuration. Again, not too complex, but it gives you an idea of how all these different processes work. I'm going to come back and show you how to use the router here in the server application and do port forwarding as well in the next screencast. So that's all I have for this week. I'll be back at you next week with another screencast to help you learn how to do more things with your Mac. If you're interested in help in setting up your own server, feel free to contact me at todd@toddolthoff.com.